We're back.
We're off. We're back. We've been busy, or you've been busier than me.
Well, sometimes.
Um, we take this opportunity from, our podcast followers, and that just to belated. We've probably lost that jacuzzi experience of becoming a dad, but congratulations.
Thank you. I saw my mate yesterday and he's like, I hadn't seen her yet. And literally, she's like 16 weeks old.
She's changing
Yeah.
fast, isn't she? Though.
She's doubled in size.
Good. Well, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Apologies for the phone, but it's there we go. That's good.
We're good.
So how's it going?
It's good. Yeah, it's a roller coaster, this parenthood stuff, right? I think it's something where I've looked at with health aspects, and I'm launching a thing called the Healthy Parent Club, where like I've always used my story before about my dad dying when I was 15 and he was 47, and that's always been the reason I do what I do. But as soon as we knew that my daughter Anna was coming, instantly you're thinking about health changes. And then when they get here, it's like, I have to protect her. And this whole aspect of like, I'm providing and I've got to be healthy to do that. My views of aesthetically, like how I look, yeah, it's nice to look a certain way, but I have to be healthy. If I'm not healthy, then I'm more reactive, and it's been exciting. It's been scary. It's been tiring. It's been energizing.
I thought of using today's podcast was an opportunity to touch a bit on that. There's, and don't get me wrong, we're not trying to sabotage or piggyback the demands on moms to be in pregnancy. I was always in awe, and still am, of my wife. Carrying babies, delivering babies, and how quickly recovering and having to get on and look after a baby. But on the other hand, with this, the positive shift towards mental health and encouraging guys to speak more, I only really got and understood my dad as a dad when I became a dad. And not to say that before that I wasn't appreciative. I only got him more as a dad when I remember saying to him, I've got to thank you for all the stuff that you did. But growing up, I always, if I need something, I ask mom. I never really appreciated what you were doing behind the scenes, running a business, providing, being a role model, and being there for me, but in a different way to what mom does. And when you're a kid, you're very self-absorbed. And I know I only got the role of a dad more when I became a dad. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, it resonates 100%. And I think there's people saying, aren't you taking any time off? And I took a few days off. She was here on the Friday, and then I think at midnight, literally. And then on, I think like the Wednesday or something, I was when you're running your business, you don't get any paternity leave. And even then, I think like statutory is like 2 weeks if you're in business. So you're not there. It was trying to stay present in that moment of, right, I need to take all this stuff on board, but also you're running the business. So you're there for your aspect.
You're there for your wife, partner, whoever and you want to share the load and do your bit for this child. But also the big important bit is if you're the main breadwinner, there's that, I can't let that drop off.
Yeah.
When I had my first, I had 4 weeks off. So, and that was planned, and it wasn't straightforward with cover, but I had that, and that was great. Second one, I then started, so I was working for another chiropractor.
Yep.
Second, my second birth, I had 2.5 days.
Yeah.
Because I just started my own business. And it wasn't that one was more important than the other. It was just a reality hit in, is like, this is what we want to do. And I think it always frustrates me when there's guys out there who then, there's a pregnancy, baby gets born, and guys duck off. And, they want anything to do with the child they've never seen. And I have limited time for that. I understand there's probably reasons for, but when you're not on that, you're the other side of the fence, and you are committed in that. I don't think enough gets mentioned of how demanding and challenging it is for the guys, not
Yeah,
from the pregnancy and the physical, the birth, but that responsibility, that
the mental aspect.
yeah,
Yeah,
that sense of a new challenge and a new sense of responsibility, and you know, you are the protector, you're the provider. There's this whole stigma of associations coming with becoming then a father.
yeah. It's like you get certain levels of support and everything, but even the way the systems were of when we went through the birth process, like the pregnancy process as such, um, you go for the scans and they never even put my name on the system. And then the healthcare
You
worker came around.
only when you
Yeah,
then the birth
they're like, are you
certificate
the
is your
dad? Like
name.
every time, like we had some people. Obviously, they're seeing hundreds of people a day, so the same person scanning you, and then you get in, and then eventually the baby's here, and then oh, you're the dad. Like, yeah, I've been here every time, but this is where there was the benefit of running your own business, of that you're more in control of your time. That I could go to every scan,
Yeah.
and every appointment that we needed to go to, which was really, really. I enjoyed being there with my wife to do that. But then afterwards, it's just bam, you're back to it. But now you've got another human to deal with as well.
Yeah, and it's
It's
tough, isn't it? Because you're wanting to provide support for your partner, for your wife, whoever, as well as doing your role.
yeah,
And it's not saying one is better, more important than the other, but you're trying to do both justice.
yeah,
And multitasking is not necessarily the male's best quality. So it is tough, and I don't think that probably acknowledge a huge amount. You just have to see the number of cards and flowers which are out for Mother's Day and what's put out there for Father's Day, and I
yeah,
think you know, quite rightly there's a bit of father kind of bashing in you know, he did this and he's no good, and that may be justified, but I think there's not enough also acknowledgement of that it is demanding, and it's a big unknown. You know, I don't know about you with your dad, but I, growing up, my dad wasn't involved in our birth, wasn't involved. You know, my dad was a bit more old school, but he kind of was. He said to us that he wished that he had been in our time where we could go to the birth. My dad
yeah.
had 5 children, was never present at the birth. He was sent home.
I couldn't imagine not
We were
being there.
told He was told when there's news.
Yeah,
It wasn't his realm, and whilst he didn't really miss the changing nappies and that, and you're like me, you're hands on. He never was. Society was never encouraged that he got involved with that.
yeah.
It wasn't
It's
his
hard to
role.
believe. Like we look at, so essentially my granddad, my stepdad's dad, that he said, "Oh, I've never changed a nappy."
Yeah,
And you think you've had two boys and grandkids, and you never changed a nappy, and it was always down to the mum. I think because we've grown up in that society, and then now
yeah,
it's more trying to be
yeah.
even. It's okay, like yeah, like well, why wouldn't I change a nappy?
But more credit with you because we don't have role models.
No,
We don't. We can, you know, women can ideally go to their mom or an aunt or a significant and say, "You've given birth. What's that one?" Well, I couldn't go to my dad and say, "So what's it like when when we're in the in actually birth mode? You know, what did you do?" I couldn't do that. There wasn't that role model. We are setting the path. My kids, my boys, will be able to do that
yeah.
now because we've been able to do that.
Do you
So
know what I find the hardest bit is that we're health professionals, and my aspect being the nutrition, being the supplement aspect, and knowing what we need to do functional medicine wise, of that I'm not in control of her when it comes to feeding wise with my wife, whether she's breastfeeding or bottle feeding or anything like that, and like seeing my wife eat and everything. I'm not in control of that anymore. And I knew a lot about up to birth, when it came to her health, my daughter's health, and then post birth, like postnatal, the health stuff. But that actual birthing process, I knew nothing about,
no,
and it was out of my
and
hands.
your role wasn't to get involved with that.
Well, yeah, and also the way it went as well is that we went in for a scan. So my wife had maternity leave start on the 27th of February. It was her last day at work, and Honor was born on the 28th. So she had like 12 hours of maternity leave. I hope she was grateful of that. But we're talking about time off. But we went in for a scan, and she was a week and a half early, and they said, "Oh, heart rate's dropped a little bit, so we want to monitor her. And then heart rate started going up and down. And it wasn't until 10:30 at night they said, it's not an emergency C-section, but we don't want it to turn into emergency, so you need to have a C-section. So there's me thinking, don't want a C-section. My wife didn't want that as well. We don't want her to be bottle fed. Like, we also had an IVF birth, baby as well. So we had like all these things out of our hands.
Yeah.
And it was trusting the process. And I'm trusting a system that historically I haven't always been the biggest believer in because of the way it's built. So it was very, very hard to just be out of that system.
And you're the classic, like, I'm here to protect. These are the most important people in my life, and I have to hand over responsibility and hand over things to them.
Yeah, and then they say, "Do you want to cut the cord?" I'm like, I did, but she's that small. She came out 5 pounds too. As you, was about 3 or 4 days old, I think she was when she had her first adjustment. But she was so small, and even now, like, she's about 11 pounds now. So she's just past the phase where most newborns are.
Well, and then also is having the hindsight's a lovely thing, because my youngest son has now just finished his first year at uni at 19 years old. And I have to unfortunately warn you that your level of control is going to get less and less.
That's what I'm
because
struggling
as they get older, whilst until they start probably school, you have actually quite a lot of influence over what they eat, drink, what they watch, what they do, who they see. As they go then into the formal schooling and going through that, you have to trust your grounding to hopefully give them some structure, but they are going to get exposed to other philosophies, other influences, other mentors, teachers, other
they
parents.
Come home identifying as a fox, there's going to be trouble.
Well, no, and that's the hard thing. I think parenting is the toughest job we take on, and it puts whatever we do professionally into perspective. And
it does.
Is that you now probably relate more to some of the high-profile clients you work with.
Absolutely.
As far as they're juggling work, family, relationship, you have now a appreciation of that, because until you've, we used to always say in our college, until you've tasted an orange, you can describe it, you can do it, but until someone bites an orange, they don't know really what you're talking about. And,
absolutely.
And the same with parenthood.
But there was also, I remember seeing a friend at the gym, and he was like, so frustrated at you, Ollie. And I said, why? He said, because you're sleeping. And this is where I think it comes down to, if you think something's going to be hard, it will be hard.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a lot of unknowns and everything. And like, it's the whole being in a routine is so much more needed now. And the routine of not having 100% routine. But we look at consistency with sleep and wake times. And I always say it with anyone, whether they've got kids or not.
So I'm gonna cut you short.
Yeah.
Because you're about to go into some of the other topics we want to cover. So join me in comments, get in touch with Ollie, give him congratulations.
We'll continue this in the next episode.
He's ticked the climbed one mountain, but got many mountains to climb. But welcome to parenthood. It's a hell of a ride.
I'm off base camp at Camp 1 now.
Yeah, you've got that badge.
Yep.
Right, thanks very much for joining us. We were going to follow on, and we're going to carry on a couple of other topics which Ollie's just mentioned. We're going to stop him because we're going to pick that up now.
Are we stopping?
Yeah. Thanks very much. See you soon.